Some of the challenges at the beginning of my career really revolved around the context, being that it was a patriarchal context. I remember having been on the verge of releasing You Oughta Know as the first single for Jagged Little Pill. And when we went to some radio stations, they would say, you know, we actually can't play Alanis because we are playing Sinead O'Connor already. So our quota is already fixed and done. So that shifted. And I think in some ways it shifted because a lot of people saw that female artists could be bankable, so to speak, in a horrifying, crass way. So when I was younger, I lived in Germany with my family, and we would do road trips all the time, all over Europe. And my parents were always playing music. I was listening to Carole King and Joni Mitchell and Bob Dylan. And I just remember it being really natural to hear an artist tell their own personal, often vulnerable stories. And that just became sort of embedded in my brain as to write authentically is what you do as a singer-songwriter. A lot of people have credited me with being courageous to write in the authentic way that I write. The idea of having been labeled as the angry white female, you know, there's a tendency to one-dimensionalize something in order to somehow grok it or wrap one's hands around it and perhaps move on, you know. So, but the truth of the matter is that we're all really complex human beings. So telling the stories about it didn't feel like courage to me. It felt like taking diary entries out of my diary and singing them. And I'd be inspired by watching Whitney Houston and Aretha Franklin and, you know, Mariah Carey and all these people sing. And I felt if I could sing along with them and hit every note, that there was a chance for me. I was dropped from my label in Canada, MCA. I think I was 18 or 19 when they saw me evolving in a way that scared them, to be frank. And they were very verbal about that with me. And they said, you know, we don't think where you're going is where all the label people really want you to go. And there was a choicelessness about that to me, evolution or die, you know. So I said goodbye, and in some ways people assumed that I was devastated by the dismantling of the record deal that I had at the time. And I remember promising myself that I wouldn't stop until I wrote a record that really represented a snapshot of where I was at in my life at any given time. It was a rebirth in some ways for me, and it was also me having emancipated myself from a group of people whom I'd been writing with before, who had a very clear vision of what they wanted for me. But I also knew that there was some expression in me that hadn't come out because my songwriting capabilities were being egregiously underestimated. So I told myself that I wouldn't stop until I was in the room with someone who really understood, you know, my personal agenda of self-expression. As a young woman, it was overwhelming to be in the middle of what felt like a fishbowl surrounded by, you know, everything, the whole continuum, from people supporting to predatorial behavior to underestimation. And then, you know, a lot of touring in contexts and environments where it was 99% males and I was the female. So I think a lot of the artists and fellow road dogs didn't know what to do with me. There's so many more women. I'm surrounded by them to the point where my eldest son the other day said, "Mom, do you even work with men? Do you even know men?" You know, I was like, slow down. I've worked with men my whole life and I adore the team around me. And I said, once we get back out on the road, it'll all come back to you. And for me, the how to survive the road dog world with my family and me, we're unschooling them and we're creating a nomadic village in a way that will allow us to travel and for education to continue informally and formally. There's no handbook for this one. You know, there are other artists like Pink and Sheryl Crow, whom I look to and I think about when I'm having moments at 4 a.m. in my hotel room. And I just think of them and I think they did it, so I can do it too, and it'll be okay. I would say to anyone who wants to express themselves through music, or frankly, just in a career and serve and be a mom, that it's a lot. And there are times where I'm just a weeping, shaking poodle in the corner where I'm just holding it together. And there are other times where, you know, it's this convergence of everyone being at the top of their game and we're all giggling and my kids are being exposed to things that I couldn't dream of conjuring in our own living room. I wrote Jagged Little Pill when I was 19, and if I could say anything to her, I would just say, there's an accuracy to your intuition, and I would really trust it implicitly. And I would encourage her to surround herself with people who would support that and not be scared of it or not be threatened by it or not want to squash it.